Picture this. You're sitting in a room full of people. Everyone's laughing at the same joke. You're not. Not because you didn't get it, because your brain saw 17 layers they missed. They think you're weird, awkward, maybe even broken. But here's what they don't know. What they mistake for strangeness is actually the signature of a mind operating on a different frequency. Psychologists have identified patterns, traits that look like flaws to the average person, but to the trained eye, they're markers, signs of cognitive complexity most people will never access. You've been told to fit in, to smooth out the edges, to be normal. And every time you tried, it felt like suffocating, like turning down the volume on the only part of you that makes sense. The world worships the polished, the charismatic, the ones who make it look easy. But genius doesn't look easy. It looks messy, obsessive, strange. And that's exactly the point. This isn't about being smarter than everyone else. It's about recognizing that your brain doesn't process reality the way theirs does. And that difference has been your burden until now. Because once you understand what these traits actually mean, everything changes. The shame turns into power. The isolation turns into clarity, and you stop apologizing for the way your mind works. Let's decode the signals. 7 traits psychologists link to exceptional intelligence. 7 things you've been hiding. 7 reasons you've always felt like an outsider in a world designed for simpler minds. Trait 1. You talk to yourself, out loud, in your head, constantly. And people have told you it's weird, that it's a sign of something wrong. They're right. It's a sign, just not what they think. Self-dialogue is how your brain organizes chaos. When you verbalize thoughts, you're not losing your mind. You're structuring it, creating order from the noise. Most people can't do this because their thoughts are too shallow to require a narrator. Einstein talked to himself. So did Tesla. So does every person whose mind operates in layers. When you hear your own voice inside your skull, you're not going crazy. You're processing complexity in real time. This is called cognitive rehearsal. Your brain is running simulations, testing scenarios, debugging ideas before they leave your mouth. It's the same process programmers use to find errors in code, except your code is reality itself. Marcus never understood why he muttered under his breath during meetings. His boss thought he was distracted. His coworkers thought he was rude. But Marcus was doing something they couldn't. He was thinking 3 moves ahead while they were still on move 1. When you talk to yourself, you're externalizing the internal, making the invisible visible. And the reason most people don't do this is simple. They don't have enough going on upstairs to require a narrator. Trait 2. You're messy. Not just physically, mentally. Your desk is chaos. Your schedule is a suggestion. Your thoughts don't follow straight lines. And society has convinced you this is a problem. It's not. It's a feature. Order is for simple systems. Chaos is for complex ones. A messy environment signals a mind that's prioritizing ideas over appearances. You're not disorganized. You're selectively organized around what actually matters. Sarah's apartment looked like a tornado hit it. Papers everywhere, books stacked in piles, coffee cups forming archaeology. Her friends called her a slob, but Sarah wasn't messy. She was mid-process, and the process was always running. When you clean up, you lose threads. The book you left open on page 73, the note you scribbled on a napkin, the half-finished sketch. These aren't garbage, they're breadcrumbs, and your brain needs them to find its way back. Trait 3. You overthink everything. Every conversation, every decision, every text message you send gets analyzed like it's evidence in a trial. And people tell you to relax, to stop thinking so much, to just go with the flow. But you can't, because your brain doesn't have an off switch. It has a dimmer. And even at its lowest setting, it's brighter than most people's high beam. Overthinking isn't a bug, it's your operating system. Psychologists call this rumination, the act of mentally chewing on information long after the moment has passed. And yes, it can spiral into anxiety, but it can also spiral into insight. The difference is awareness. When you replay a conversation, you're not being paranoid. You're extracting data, looking for subtext, reading tone, measuring intent. Most people take words at face value. You take them as starting points. This is pattern recognition. Your brain is a machine that finds connections, and the more you think, the more connections you find. The problem is, most of those connections are invisible to everyone else, so they think you're obsessing over nothing. Jason spent an hour analyzing a 3-word text. His girlfriend thought he was insane, but Jason wasn't overreacting. He was reading between the lines, and he was right. The relationship ended 2 weeks later. He saw it coming because he always does. Overthinking is exhausting, but it's also your superpower. Because while everyone else is reacting, you're predicting. While they're confused, you're 3 steps ahead, and that gap is what separates your mind from theirs. Trait 4, you're brutally honest. Not to be cruel, but because lies feel like sandpaper on your brain. You can't fake enthusiasm. You can't pretend to care. You can't nod along when someone's wrong. And this has cost you. Friends, jobs, relationships. You've lost them all because you refused to perform, to smile when you didn't mean it, to agree when you didn't. And people called you cold, rude, difficult. They were wrong. You're just precise. Honesty is a function of clarity. When your brain processes information at high resolution, approximations don't cut it. You need accuracy. And when someone asks for your opinion, you give them the truth, not the version they want to hear. This is intellectual integrity, the refusal to compromise your perception of reality to make others comfortable. And it's rare. Most people lie constantly, not maliciously, just reflexively, because social survival depends on it. But your brain doesn't do survival mode. It does truth mode. And truth mode has no patience for performative kindness. When someone asks if their idea is good, you don't sugarcoat. You say it's not, because pretending helps no one. Nina lost 3 friendships in 1 year, all because she told people what they needed to hear instead of what they wanted to hear. They called her harsh. She called herself honest. And in the end, the people who stayed were the ones who valued reality over comfort. Brutal honesty isolates you, but it also filters your circle. The ones who can handle your truth are the ones worth keeping. Everyone else is background noise, and your brain has no time for noise. Trait 6, you're obsessed with random things. A documentary about volcanoes, the etymology of the word weird, how ancient Romans did plumbing. And people don't get it. They ask why you care. You don't have an answer. You just do. This is curiosity without agenda. Your brain doesn't need a reason to be interested. It finds fascination in everything, because everything is connected. And while others see trivia, you see threads that weave into a larger understanding. Polymaths throughout history shared this trait. Leonardo da Vinci studied anatomy, engineering, art, and war, not because he needed to, but because his brain refused to stay in one lane. Genius doesn't specialize, it explores. This is cognitive hunger. Your brain is constantly seeking input, novelty, challenge, and when it finds something interesting, it doesn't move on. It digs deep until it understands not just the what, but the why and the how. Trevor spent 6 hours reading about the migratory patterns of monarch butterflies. His roommate asked why. Trevor shrugged. He didn't know why. He just knew that understanding how a butterfly navigates 2,000 miles mattered. And it did, just not in ways he could explain yet. Your obsessions aren't random. They're your brain mapping reality, and every piece of information you absorb becomes part of a larger framework. One day, it'll all click, and when it does, you'll see connections no one else can. Trait 6, you're comfortable alone. Not lonely, alone. You can spend hours, days, even weeks with minimal human contact and feel fine, better than fine, recharged. And people think you're antisocial, maybe even damaged. You're not. Solitude is where your brain does its best work. Social interaction is data input, but solitude is data processing. And your brain needs time to process, without interruption, without noise, without someone asking what you're thinking. Psychologists call this intrinsic motivation. You don't need external validation to feel fulfilled.
Your mind generates its own reward system, and that system values depth over breadth, quality over quantity, meaning over momentum. This is intellectual independence. You don't need a crowd to feel whole. You need space, and in that space, you build worlds, ideas, frameworks, things that require silence to construct. Elena went 3 weeks without seeing anyone outside of work. Her family worried. Her friends stopped calling. But Elena wasn't depressed. She was focused. And in those 3 weeks, she finished a project that had been stuck for months. Solitude isn't loneliness. Loneliness is the absence of connection. Solitude is the presence of self. And when your self is this complex, this layered, this demanding, you need time alone just to keep up with it. Trait 7. You question everything. Not to be difficult, but because assumptions make your brain itch. Why do we do it this way? Who decided this was the rule? What if the opposite is true? And people get tired of your questions. But your questions aren't attacks, they're explorations. You're not challenging authority, you're challenging reality. And reality, when examined closely, is full of holes, contradictions, things that don't add up, and you can't unsee them. This is critical thinking at full volume. Most people accept the world as it's presented. You dissect it, break it down, rebuild it. And sometimes the rebuild doesn't match the original, and that's when you realize the original was flawed. Skepticism is your default setting, not cynicism, skepticism. The difference is intent. A cynic assumes everything is bad. A skeptic assumes everything should be questioned, and your brain is a relentless skeptic.
David got fired from his job for asking too many questions. His manager said he was disruptive, but David wasn't disrupting. He was exposing inefficiencies, flaws in the system, things everyone else had accepted as normal. David didn't accept normal. He interrogated it. Your questions make people uncomfortable because they reveal laziness, intellectual laziness. Most people don't want to think that hard. They want the easy answer, the quick fix, the path of least resistance. You want the truth, and the truth requires effort. These 7 traits have been your burden, the reason you felt different, isolated, misunderstood. But here's what you need to understand. They were never flaws, they were signals. Signals that your mind operates at a frequency most people can't hear. You've spent your life trying to turn down the volume, to fit in, to be normal. And every time you did, you felt a piece of yourself disappear. Because normal isn't your frequency. It never was, and it never will be. Genius isn't about being better than everyone else. It's about being different in ways that matter. And these traits matter. They're the architecture of a mind that doesn't just process information, it transforms it. You've been told to fix yourself, to smooth out the rough edges, to stop being so intense, so strange, so much. But you're not too much. You're exactly enough for the mind you have, for the problems you're meant to solve. The world needs people who talk to themselves, who live in chaos, who overthink, who tell the truth, who obsess, who don't need crowds, who question everything. Because these are the people who see what others miss. You've been hiding, dimming your light, pretending to be smaller than you are, and it's been destroying you, slowly, quietly, one compromise at a time. But hiding isn't protection, it's suffocation, and you've been holding your breath too long. Here's the shift. Stop apologizing for your mind. Stop trying to make it digestible for people who can't handle complexity. Stop performing normality for an audience that doesn't even notice the effort. Own your strangeness, not as a defense mechanism, but as an identity. Because that strangeness is what makes you valuable, rare, irreplaceable. And the people who can't see that aren't your people. They're distractions. Your brain is a weapon, and you've been using it as a shield, hiding behind it, apologizing for it. But weapons aren't meant to hide. They're meant to cut through. And your mind can cut through noise, through lies, through the comfortable illusions most people live inside. This is your permission to be as strange as you need to be,
to think as deeply as your brain demands, to exist at full volume, without apology, without shame, without the constant, exhausting performance of being less than you are. You've been waiting for the world to understand you, but the world doesn't understand genius. It tolerates it, uses it, benefits from it, but it doesn't understand it, and it never will. So stop waiting for understanding. Start demanding respect. These traits aren't signs that you need fixing. They're signs that you're operating correctly. Your mind is supposed to work this way, and anyone who tells you otherwise is speaking from their own limitations, not yours. The loneliness you felt isn't because you're broken, it's because you're rare, and rarity is lonely, but it's also powerful. Because rare things change the world, common things maintain it. You've been taught that fitting in is the goal, that conformity is safety, that normal is good. But normal is a cage, and your mind is too big for cages. It needs space, freedom, the permission to be exactly what it is. So here's the truth they won't tell you. You're not weird, you're not broken, you're not too much. You're a mind that sees more, processes more, feels more, and that's not a curse. That's a superpower, if you stop treating it like a disease. The people who made history weren't normal. They were strange, obsessive, difficult, misunderstood, and they didn't wait for permission to be brilliant. They just were, and you are too. You've just been hiding it. Stop hiding, stop apologizing, stop shrinking. Your mind is a gift, and gifts aren't meant to be wrapped in shame. They're meant to be used, fully, fearlessly, without asking if anyone else is ready. You were never meant to fit in. You were meant to stand out. And the sooner you accept that, the sooner you become who you actually are, not who they wanted, who you are. And that version is unstoppable.